Jerome Powell was at a Q&A. I'm not really sure what the event was. I watched it live, but I forget where he was. But he took questions and answers, and Powell basically said that the economy needs more stimulus, right? It actually needs it, right? It needs it like a drug addict needs heroin. But does a drug addict really need heroin? No, not if the drug addict wants to be healthy and doesn't want to be a drug addict anymore, right? He needs to go cold turkey and stop taking heroin. But Powell doesn't understand this. Of course, another thing he doesn't understand is economics. And that's quite apparent to me. I mean, either he doesn't understand economics or he's just a liar. But either way, it's not a good, range of possibilities. Because one of the things that he said was that unlike past recessions, the recession that we have now was not caused by any economic imbalances. Oh, really? There are no economic imbalances? I mean, that's all we've got is imbalances, thanks to the Fed. Why is this recession so severe, right? Why was the economy so ill prepared for COVID-19 or anything for that matter? Because we had nothing saved for a rainy day. It was the lack of savings and the abundance of debt that left the economy so vulnerable to this downturn, to this virus. That's an imbalance. What caused that imbalance? The Fed. Yet Powell doesn't even recognize that the imbalance that the Fed created exists. If the Fed doesn't even recognize the problem, forgetting about understanding its role in creating it, how is it going to solve it? It can't solve a problem that it doesn't understand. All it could do is make it worse. The reason that this recession is so bad is because the very economic imbalances that Powell denies exists were so big. That's the problem. Another question too he got about low interest rates, and he said, low interest rates are good for the economy. We're helping the economy with low interest rates. Again, low interest rates are not necessarily good for the economy. It depends on how you get them. If low interest rates are the natural consequence of an economy that has an abundance of savings and not a lot of debt, right? If everybody is under consuming and saving and you have all the savings, right, then you can have low interest rates. And of course, if you have sound money and low inflation, all these things are going to factor into low interest rates. Low interest rates reward frugal economies that have a lot of savings and sound money, in which case low interest rates are good. But that's not why interest rates are low in America, right? Interest rates should be very high in America based on the economic fundamentals. The only reason they're not is because the Fed is artificially manipulating the market, right? It's like the Fed has its thumb on the scale, and so the reading is inaccurate. Interest rates, low interest rates rather, are not a good thing if they are derived from artificial manipulation, right? Because like any price fixing, right? Whenever the government interferes in the free market and sets a price that is different than the market price, you create misallocations, you create malinvestments or surpluses, you create shortages, right? The market doesn't function properly when supply and demand is interfered with by government. Well, that is what the Fed has done with artificially manipulating interest rates lower. So in this case, low interest rates are not good for the economy. They are bad for the economy. The economy actually needs higher interest rates. Higher interest rates would be good for an economy with too much debt that needs to encourage more savings and less spending. We need higher interest rates. That's what's good for us. That's what cures what ails us. The Fed is preventing that cure because of the short-term pain associated with swallowing the bitter tasting medicine, right? That is the problem. So when Powell insists that low interest rates are good for the economy, it's because he doesn't understand the economy. He doesn't understand that low interest rates are part of the problem, not part of the solution. And by keeping interest rates artificially low, the Fed is making the problem worse while preventing a legitimate recovery from ever taking place. There was one decent question that he was asked by somebody who actually was thinking, and I forget, I think it was a female reporter or whoever it was, but I think she asked Powell, isn't he concerned here about getting what he wishes for, right? There's that old saying, be careful what you wish for because you just might get it. And in this circumstance, what the Fed is wishing for is higher inflation. So the reporter is saying, hey, isn't that very dangerous? Aren't you tempting fate here? Because what happens if you get more inflation? How do you deal with that? How do you rein it in, right? Especially if you get more than you bargained for. And again, Powell really just dismissed the concern as if, oh, that's no big deal. I mean, we should be so lucky as to get more inflation than we bargained for. And if we get too much, dialing it back is no big deal. Like that's some kind of an easy problem to have. No, it's not. It's an impossible problem to have. You see, what the Fed is doing is creating a situation where we are going to get inflation that is well above the 2% target, right? Way, way, way above it. And it will be impossible for the Fed to cure that inflation problem without killing the economy, right? Because the cure will be as bad as the disease. So either we die from the disease or we die from the cure, right? The Fed is going to have to pick its poison. But the Fed doesn't even recognize that that's the dilemma that it's going to be in. Because Powell still doesn't understand economics. He still has no idea what he's talking about. Either that or he's simply lying through his teeth.